girls read this stuff for me, would you? I think this is the hardest part, is having to read all this stuff. I don't have a teleprompter. I don't have a teleprompter. Yeah, hold it in front of the camera. Oh, yeah, put the. You can do it right there. Hi.
League of Women Voters.
Yes.
There's no signage outside of it. People are wandering around.
Are
they
they?
don't know where this is. They don't know it's the third floor or the second floor.
Oh.
People are completely lost out there.
Oh, yeah, that's a shame. Thank you. All right, we gotta.
How are you? Listen, they need to put some signs out.
Yes, we heard.
They can't even tell. The people that work here didn't even know what it was.
Yeah, this debate was kind of put together as rather quickly.
But at least the people downstairs, that work here should know where we need to go, right?
That's for validating your parking. Questions? He's the official timer. Oh, is it? Is it Jen's son? Yeah. One more minute. Oh, good, the sun's going in. Do we need lights now? Do we need light? Is there a light? A light? I think Tammy's got it. Ah, light. Thank you. 15 seconds, okay. District of Connecticut. This election is scheduled for April 16th, 2019. I'm Libby Switek, a member of the League of Women Voters of Greater Hartford, and will serve as a moderator. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization which encourages informed and active participation by citizens in government. We are pleased to bring you this debate in cooperation with West Hartford Community Interactive. This debate will be conducted in a modified cumulative time format. Candidates will have 10 minutes each to answer and rebut questions, specifically of interest to this legislative seats. They each will have 2 minutes for closing arguments following the question session. Timers have been provided by the League of Women Voters to help manage their respective times. Questions for this debate were formulated in advance by League members and by a live audience and will be presented as time allows. It is my pleasure to introduce the candidates who have committed their time and energies to this important aspect of the democratic process. Let me introduce the candidates. Bob Margolis. Bob Margolis was born in West Hartford and now lives in Avon with his wife of nearly 37 years. They have 2 children, one who lives in Avon and is a teacher and a mother, and the other, a son, has left for opportunities elsewhere. He's lived in Connecticut all his life and have owned a small business since 1978. He graduated from Hall High School and helped Central Connecticut State College become a university in 1977. Tammy Exum is the Democratic Party and is a Republican. Tammy Exum is the Democratic Party candidate for the 19th District. After earning her bachelor's degree in early childhood education, Tammy started her career as an elementary school teacher. Tammy moved to West Hartford with her family in 1999 after earning her master's in business degree and being recruited by Otis Elevator. Along with her husband Earl, she's raised 3 boys, Evan, Kyle, and Jonathan, all of whom have attended or attend West Hartford Public Schools. Tammy is the former vice chair of the West Hartford Board of Education. She is a founding member and former president and executive board member of the Special Education PTA's local chapter. Tammy has been active on many boards and organizations. As the West Hartford coordinator for PLTI, the Parent Leadership Training Institute, Tammy is well known as an advocate that listens to the concerns of people from all our community. Thank you to you both. Order of response was predetermined before airtime. Bob Margolis will be answering first for both the questions and for the closing. Let's start with questions. The legislative session is already underway as we have this debate, and there will be approximately 8 weeks left to the session by the time the candidate is seated. Question: are you aware of your committee assignment if you are elected, and what would you like to achieve as many bills have already gone through committee? Mr. Margolis.
Thank you, and I want to thank the League of Women Voters for putting this on this evening. I'm not aware of any committee assignments. We haven't gotten that far down the road. The legislative session is, bills or proposals are moving out of committee, and they're getting positioned for full legislative votes. At this point, as candidates, I think we can both advocate for our positions and hope that when we get to the legislature, we get to vote on issues that are important to us.
Thank you. Ms. Exum.
We have been pretty busy getting ready for this election. It's been very intense. But first, let me say thank you as well to the League of Women Voters and also to West Hartford Community TV. I want to thank you, audience members, for being here tonight. And good evening, Mr. Margolis. And it is true that there is so much taking place in a compressed amount of time, but I have given this some consideration. I don't know for certain what committees I can be on because of how far along the process is. However, I have a particular interest in education, in higher education, and in the social services are some of the areas that I would be interested in exploring. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the second question comes from our audience. What do you see as the most pressing problem for Connecticut? Ms. Exum will start.
Well, I think one of our largest problems is obviously our budget and our economy. And I have to tell you, when I think about it, though, I think of the hope of what we can be. And I I think there's ways to grow this economy, and I think about it mainly because my two older sons no longer live here. They're college students, and they live in Washington, D.C., in South Carolina. And I think about having opportunities to bring them back and to really spur business development and try to grow our economy. But right now, we have to look at some serious budget issues that we have, and I would say that is the most pressing thing at this time.
Thank you. Mr. Margolis.
I completely agree that the budget is a tremendous problem here in Connecticut. It's been a problem for a long time, and it continues to be a problem. The governor is looking for $2.4 billion in tax increases from those of us that live here in Connecticut. There are 0 cuts in the governor's proposed budget. This is a huge problem. We need to be looking at how we can run leaner, more efficiently, and we need some budget cuts in our state.
Thank you. Governor Lamont has suggested what he calls a debt diet and has had some positive results with bonding. Do you consider that to be a positive step forward to solving some of our economic issues? Mr. Margolis.
I consider it to be a positive step forward, but I really question a tax and spend governor like Governor Lamont, because I don't think he knows what a debt diet is, nor did Governor Malloy.
Ms. Exum?
I think it's important that we look at all types of aspects to find a way to spend less, and a debt diet is definitely something we need to consider. There will be many considerations. I think that is one of them.
There's another question from the audience concerning marijuana legalization. Marijuana legalization is one of the bills that has passed through committee. It will address both decriminalization of small amounts of marijuana and possession of, I believe, smokables, not edibles, for people over 21. What is your position on the bill for marijuana going forward? And this question goes to Ms. Exum.
I tell you, legalizing anything that can be addictive is always a difficult choice. But the reality is marijuana is all around us. It's legal in Massachusetts, and it's something that I look at in several ways. One is I see it as a public health issue, something to really address. I'm concerned about what other products are mixed in with marijuana, and I think it's very important. I think about the way alcohol, when there was prohibition, we didn't know what was in the alcohol, and then it was later regulated and made a safer product. I do appreciate that it, of course, should be 21 years of age, but I also think with marijuana, you know, we have to think about the fact that it is around us, and it's important to address it. But I always struggle when I have young boys who are young men, and I hate the addictive aspect of anything. The social justice piece is really important. So if we do get to a place where we legalize marijuana, and again, I would look at the information around that, have to study that very closely. If we get to that place, it's really important to consider how many communities have been disenfranchised and broken up, how many people are in prison and in jail right now for products that we will say are legal. There needs to be a social justice component to it for these communities that have been ravaged, and it's really important to address that as well.
Mr. Margolis?
I think that to some aspect, legalizing marijuana here in Connecticut is more of a money grab than something that's good for the state. I don't know if it's good for the state, honestly. I don't have any fundamental problem with people that enjoy marijuana, and if it was legal and we could collect tax revenue from it, good for Connecticut. But I'm very concerned from a public safety aspect of legalizing marijuana. The states that have legalized marijuana right now have experienced an increase in crime rates. They've experienced an increase in traffic accidents. And I think the issue deserves more study. Most concerning to me from a public safety standpoint is that there is no roadside sobriety test for marijuana. If there was a roadside sobriety test for marijuana, I would probably support it because I think it could be a good revenue stream for our state. But right now, I just don't think we're there yet.
Okay. Anything to add?
Not really. I think that actually sums up a part of it that I was thinking about as how to test people as they are pulled over. We really don't have that right now, but we would need to look into that. But I would say if we do legalize marijuana, we may as well benefit from it from taxes because we actually could use the revenue, but that is not the reason that I would approve it.
Thank you very much. Okay, Ms. Exum, I guess you are, no, Mr. Margolis, you're next. I have several questions here from the audience about gun laws. One says we have 4 bills that have passed the Judiciary Committee already. Safe storage, a ghost gun, safe storage auto, and open carry permit request. Your opinions on any or all of those 4 bills?
Well, let me address each one of them individually. So the first bill, safe storage, and you'll have to remind me of the order you gave them to me. I, as a firearms instructor, my entire passion is firearm safety. That extends to storage. I would absolutely positively support anything that made the public safer, whether you're in your home, out of your home, anything that has to do with firearms. If it's safety, I'm all about it. I would love to see the Safe Storage Act encompass some education for our children. We're running and hiding from the fact that there's 350 million guns in this country. And we need to do a better job of educating the kids to understand that if they find a gun, don't touch it, leave the area, call an adult. The second
one was a ghost gun bill.
Ghost gun bills. I think ghost guns are pretty unpopular. I don't think they've been used in any crimes that I've known of in Connecticut. All of my guns are legally registered, and I don't have a problem with the way Connecticut law reads right now. Federally, it's legal to build your own firearm. What I'm concerned with about the ghost gun law is that at what point do you decide a chunk of metal is a gun? And I think it's a very gray area. So I'm really not sure where that's gonna end up.
Safe storage auto?
Safe storage auto, I think it's very hard, if not impossible, to define what a safe is for your vehicle or what safe storage is. So I don't think the state should be passing laws that we can't create clear definitions around. Yet, if guns are going to be left in cars, they should be secured.
Okay, and open carry permit.
Open carry. Well, Connecticut is an open carry state. Personally, I always tell my clients that I don't recommend that they open carry. I don't think open carry is a great idea.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Exum, same questions for you. Safe storage.
I really believe in just common sense gun laws, and safe storage I think is really basic. To be responsible enough to put your guns away, have the ammunition not close to the gun, looking at Ethan's law. But first I'd like to address the piece that about children and gun safety. I think that it's really important to understand the way children think. Their brains aren't fully developed until mid-20s, and to imagine them coming across a gun and thinking they will have the presence of mind each time to walk away, no matter how much training. I don't know how many times you tell a child not to touch a hot stove or things like that, and they still will do it. It's not the responsibility of the child. I think it's important to tell children, to teach children the right things to do, but it is not their responsibility. I think that that open carry is, I'm glad to hear that Mr. Margolis isn't a big supporter of that idea, because I am not either. Even though we are an open carry state, I think it is something that people find very intimidating, and I know there's a question around whether or not people want to show their permit, and how that can also have implications about profiling. Ghost guns, I have talked to people who have been in abusive relationships, and something that they're afraid of is the fact that the person that they were in a relationship with has a restraining order and can't get a gun legally, but they can go and order one online and have the information on how to put this gun together, and they can still do damage, and there is no serial number, and there's no way to trace it. And that's a really scary prospect. And finally, I think as far as storing guns, of course, in your car, to me, I tell you, I'm glad to see that that was a part of a testimony that I watched very closely. They were talking about different kinds of safes. Absolutely, we should do that.
Mr. Margolis, anything else?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
No problem.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to gather my thoughts here. If you're the subject of a restraining order, you cannot lawfully get a gun in Connecticut. I'm not going to address other states because I don't know all the other states' laws. Absolutely, positively, you cannot order a gun online and get it in Connecticut.
Please hold your comments. Ms. Exum, any other comments?
It is not my understanding that you're unable to obtain a ghost gun if you really want one.
Okay. One other question on the gun issue for now. Universal background checks. Ms. Exum first. You support universal background checks?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Margolis.
I support background checks for firearm purchases nationally. The current federal legislation for universal background checks also includes a gun registry, and I don't support a gun registry. I support universal background checks. So pass the background check, get the gun, be free.
Thank you. All right, couple questions here about the environment. Currently, there are a couple bills going through committee banning single-use plastic bags and straws. Also a question about the cost of trash, and do we have enough room for our trash? I'd like to add a third part to that question and ask you what you think the biggest environmental issue is for our district and maybe Connecticut. And that would be Mr. Margolis that would start.
Thank you. Pardon me. A tax on plastic bags, really?
I think it's a ban.
It's a ban on
Yeah,
plastic
yeah,
bags? I'd
it's a ban.
support a ban on plastic bags. If they're bad, I'd rather ban them than tax them. I think that consumers can make wise choices if they're given the option. As far as plastic straws go, I've seen some restaurants in our district changing over to paper straws. Good for them. They're concerned about the environment. I'm concerned about the environment as well. As far as the biggest concern on the environment in the district, pretty hard to say. That the district is a small section of Connecticut. I mean, we don't have a tremendous industrial facet to our communities anymore that are polluting the air or polluting the water. Obviously, Connecticut is on Long Island Sound, and I would think it's really important that we pay attention to the environment and we pay attention to Long Island Sound.
Yeah, Ms. Exum?
First, I would like to say I have a reusable straw here. I know I have a straw, in case anyone's looking at me. I do have that. I'd like to agree on the ban on plastic bags. So I have been really just captivated by some of the stories that I've been reading lately about whales who have died because they're full of plastic. You can even see the barcode on them. The waste, the plastic is breaking down into our waters, and so there are fish and the different foods that we're eating. It is getting into our food supply. We have to be good stewards of our earth, and so I think absolutely we need to change our behaviors, and I would support a ban on plastic bags. I think it's really important. Straws, I definitely am appreciating restaurants that are give you the option of whether or not you can have a straw. I think it's important to realize, though, that there are certain medical conditions that require straws. As I've canvassed, I've run across someone who said, please, it's the only way I can get my nutrition. But outside of that caveat, I think it's really important to consider making changes in what we're using with our straws, another form of plastic as well, maybe finding the reusable ones. And finally, trash. One of the biggest issues that we face is around food waste. There's a massive amount of money that goes to food waste, and that I think is one of the largest areas that we're looking at that and trash disposal here in District 19. So that would be my response to that.
Thank you. Mr. Margolis. No reply, okay. Bears. The bear population is growing and daily sightings. Would you support a bear hunt? Or what would you suggest for mitigation of the bear issue? Mr. Margolis first. Am I correct?
It's an interesting issue. I'm not a hunter. I've never hunted anything in my life. I have no desire to hunt. I can go to the supermarket and get whatever I need. At the same time, we have a bear problem. My wife and I live in Avon. We formerly lived in Simsbury. There's a lot of bears. I don't know if hunting is a great solution, to tell you the truth. I think there very possibly may be other ways to capture and relocate bears. If hunting works with other species, and maybe it's not that bad for bears, but we kind of look at bears and we remember we had teddy bears when we were kids. I mean, I get it. So honestly, I don't know. I don't know that I would support bear hunting or not support bear hunting.
Ms. Exum.
I need more information on this. I hear about it, and I was asked about it as we canvassed. I know that we do have a bear issue. We see them all over the place. I have a hard time supporting bear hunting. It just is not something that I could imagine supporting. I do know that we need to control the population, but I would need to learn more.
Thank you. I'm going to move on to transportation funding. The Current today reported that the funding to move forward in maintaining our roads and highways is some $400 million a year short. The issue of tolls has come up. If not tolls, how would you support transportation funding? And this will go to Ms. Exum first.
I really think we have to figure out a way to have revenue by growth. I really think about this a lot. It's one of the reasons that I decided to enter into this at this time. As I spoke about earlier, 2 of my 3 sons who are out of state, I would like to think about ways to get them back here. And I think it's through growth. I think we need a growth model where we really look at ways of building. We have really great schools in this 19th district. And I think a highly educated workforce will bring to us businesses. And with more young people having an opportunity to come and to work and to be here, they give to our economy and help our economy grow. I know there are all types of programs. I'm interested in doing programming around high schools and community colleges and partnering with them, because we have places with opportunities like Electric Boat and Pratt & Whitney where there are pipeline programs. If we can get young people in there and working, or not just young people, but anyone who's looking for employment, if we can give them the skill sets that they need in order to be in there and to work, they will become a part of the economy. We need to grow our economy. It's not all about rate. And then I do want to say one other thing, though, about tolls. The only thing I will say is there's so much information. It's changing every day. You have new information today. The thing that I know for sure is when I drive to Washington, D.C. to visit my son, when I leave West Hartford, when I leave Connecticut, I pay tolls all the way down the interstate, going down there until I get to D.C., and then I pay tolls all the way back. And then there are none here. And the one thing I know is there's a 40% out-of-state driver who comes through here, and they do impact our roads, our infrastructure. They are impacted, and there's nothing that is left for us by way of payment. However, I would like to look at more of a growth strategy when it comes to ways to raise revenue.
Thank you. Mr. Margolis.
I am completely and totally against the prospect of having tolls in Connecticut. There is a program called Prioritize Progress that I think would help fund our roads, our bridges, our infrastructure without tolling. It's a pretty good program from what I've read about it. I do want to reply to something that Ms. Exum just said, that growth is a key to our state. People are moving out of Connecticut. They're not moving in at the same rate. Connecticut is in, I believe, the top 2 or 3 of states where population is exiting. Why is population exiting? Because it's too expensive to live here. Our kids get a wonderful education in the public school system, and I think we should be putting plenty of money into our public school systems. But they're leaving because there's nothing here for them. Connecticut is last or close to last in every national economic indicator, and this has happened because we overtax, we overspend, and we have fiscal irresponsibility in Hartford.
Thank you. I'm going to move on to voting. Early voting has passed through committee. There is an amendment to allow people to vote early for election, not just absentee balloting, which right now is not a no-fault system. Do you support the early voting amendment? And would you support the right to restore voting rights to felons after they have completed their parole and commitment to the state? And this would be Mr. Margolis.
So who's going to pay for early voting? Is early voting bad? Probably not. But are the towns equipped to handle early voting? Are they equipped for the people that are going to be coming in and voting for a certain period of time? I don't think there's any hard and fast facts from states that have early voting that would prove that more people vote. So I guess who would pay for it? I mean, we're paying for enough right now. The towns are going to be overburdened once the state starts offloading teacher pensions onto towns. And I didn't mean to start a whole new subject here, but the towns are already overburdened, and I don't think early voting is going to help that whatsoever.
I absolutely support early voting. I think everyone should be encouraged to vote. I think voting should be a right. I think so many people have been disenfranchised from the process by not being allowed to vote, and everyone doesn't have a schedule that allows them to come in on a limited time on one day. So many states around us allow for early voting, and for felons to, once they've done their time, when they get out, they should also be given the opportunity to vote. Voting is very, very important. That's the way you use your voice, and that's what we're asking for. We're asking people to come out and vote right now. Absolutely. I 100% support that.
Okay, thank you. Have time for one more question, I think. Also on voting, do you consider that the Connecticut election system is secure? This will go to Ms. Exum first.
I'm not certain about that. I would hope it's secure. I like paper ballots. I think would be the most secure way, but we've seen some messy times when we've had voting take place, different elections. So I couldn't attest to whether or not it's completely secure, but I sure hope so.
Thank you. Mr. Margolis.
I also hope that the system is secure, but honestly I don't know if it is. I know that during the last presidential election, I believe students were voting at Yale until midnight. That's well outside of election law and policy. So I feel the same way that Ms. Exum does. I'm not positive that it's secure. I sure hope that it is.
Okay, thank you. And I think we have time for just a yes or no. Are you in favor of towns paying for teachers' pensions? This will go to Mr. Margolis.
No.
Okay. Ms. Exum.
No, not at this point.
Okay, I think we are out of time. Okay. We're going to move on to our closing. Each candidate has 2 minutes to give their closing statement. Per order of answering questions, we decided that Mr. Margolis would go first, and he will go first for this one. When the timers are ready, we will begin.
Thank you. Just a few things that I want to resolve to everyone here and everyone watching at home or online, that when I'm elected, I will look at every issue asking myself, is it good for Connecticut? Is it fiscally responsible? And is it the right thing to do? Because it seems there's not always that looking over on proposals that I see in the legislature. I don't know if a lot of things we're doing in Hartford are the right thing to do. And I think that's really critical. I'm an honest person. I've always been an honest person, and I've tried to run this campaign like a gentleman. I've not crossed any lines, never talked about my opponent online until I read the Hartford Current and I saw that my opponent dug up what she must have thought was going to be dirt from my condominium association board of all places, and then attempted to smear me with it. A trust was broken, and I feel very insulted that someone like that is running to represent this district.
Ms. Exum.
I want to start with thank yous. First, for the loving support of my family, my husband Earl and my 3 boys, Jonathan, Kyle, and Evan. Thank you to the League of Women Voters and West Hartford Community Television for hosting this debate. Lastly, thank you to the audience for coming tonight and to those who are watching on TV. For me, our campaign has been about bringing people together, finding real solutions to real problems, and offering a positive vision, as I did on the West Hartford Board of Education, and is the reason that I am seeking to represent our towns in the state legislature. I won't go to the state beholden to anyone but the people of the 19th District. I won't go there with the assumption that more taxes are the solution to everything. I believe nothing is more important than an affordable, honest, and sustainable budget. I also believe that the real solution is to grow our state economy. That means innovating, ending transportation gridlock, and investing in good jobs with fair pay and benefits. I am committed to building on the excellent work of my predecessor, Derek Slapp, when it comes to opening the door of equal opportunity for women and all of those who are on the outside of the mainstream of our economy. I will continue to be an advocate for the disabilities community, with whom I have already had personal connections. Above all, Connecticut must reaffirm its commitment to education, quality preschool, higher education, and training for the jobs and careers of the future. I've also made my position clear that I will oppose mandated school regionalization. Our campaign has been about keeping our communities safe. I am proud that Connecticut is leading the way on responsible gun safety legislation and common sense laws that are being proposed like this session, like safe storage and banning ghost guns. I have thoroughly enjoyed talking to folks about these issues. I am confident that Connecticut's best days are ahead of us. Lastly, to the residents of the 19th District, I look forward to seeing you at the polls on Tuesday, April 16th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This concludes our debate. I'd like to thank everyone involved, the candidates for giving us their time, our timers, our audience, and to West Hartford Community Interactive for helping support this debate. We hope this assists you, the voting public, in making a more informed decision as you go to the polls this April 16th. Thank you and good night.